I'd like to welcome Pastor Molly Lovell, who's here from the New Hope Pentecostal Church of God, and she is going to bring the invocation for us this evening.
I'd just like to thank the mayor and the council for allowing me to come. If you'll bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time, Lord, that you've given us, Lord, and I pray for wisdom and knowledge for each person, Lord, to go into the direction, Father, Lord, that you would have them to go. I thank you for such a great time, Lord, for all the things that you've done for us and all the things that I know that you're going to do for us. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Molly. Nice to meet you. Have Zoom people?
I have phone numbers and a couple of people on.
Seven p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justin, do you want to take the roll call?
Craig Elliott, Mindy Galbavy,
Here.
Adam Grass,
Here.
Larry Lambert,
Here.
Bob Porter,
Here.
Terry Wood. All council members are present except Councilmember Craig Elliott and Terry Wood.
We have reading and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which was two meetings, the special meeting at 6:30 and then the regular council meeting, both on February 18th.
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the February 18th regular and special meeting. Second.
Been moved by Larry, seconded by Adam. All those in favor of that motion, please respond by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed by no. Next on our agenda, we'll skip down because we don't want to start the hearing until 7:15.
Mayor,
I'm sorry?
can we approve the agenda?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I always skip that, don't I? We need to approve the agenda so that we can have this to follow.
I move that we accept the agenda as printed.
Second.
Moved by Bob, seconded by Larry, that the agenda be approved. All those in favor, please respond by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed by saying no. Okay, so we have had approval of the agenda and reading approval of the minutes. We've done that. Pre-approved reports and presentations. Who would like to go first? The list has Joanne first, but she's not here, so we'll let Leanne go first. She's filling in.
We're gonna do mayor and department head reports.
Is that where we're at? Sorry.
It's all right. We went from pre-approved reports to department head reports, which is fine. We still have communications and public comment before that.
Well,
That's
Leanne,
okay.
I'm sorry. You can have your seat because I have to get this in the right order. So rather than having you at this time, we need to do pre-approved reports and presentations.
I do not have any unless there's somebody here reporting for the city.
Is there anyone here on behalf of the city that has a pre-approved report or presentation they'd like to do? So our next item on the agenda is public comments. Do remember that during public comment time at our town hall meeting last week, we made a change and that during public comments, you can, as council, interact with the public. There can be discussion that goes on during that time. If the item that's being discussed does need to go to a resolution type format, then it will go to new business at the end of the meeting. But just to remind you, for public comment, it's welcome during this time. Public comments, please raise your hand to be invited by the mayor. The people on Zoom can also let Devin know that if they would like to speak. Please limit your time to allow other members of the public to speak. If there's more time needed to discuss the item, we can move that to the next meeting. Council will engage in discussion with the public if appropriate. Please be respectful. Please provide supporting evidence if you have specific concerns. If you recognize a problem, please suggest a solution. The mayor will have final authority in the amount of time given to any one topic before moving it to new business or to the agenda of another meeting date. So those were discussed last week and are now part of our recommendations for public comments. Now we have communications, unless we have somebody with public comment.
You have a public comment on
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay.
Mr. Tobias, do you want to speak? Just, you're open.
Yeah, sure. I'll be brief. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Mike Tobias. I live at 113 East Polly Street. Just want to I'm not sure if I've met everybody or not, but just want to let you know I'm the city's library representative on the CDL board. And so I haven't done a good job of kind of showing my face around you folks, but glad to be a representative on the board. I'm a proud library supporter, and I think Carol does a great job there. If you have younger children, we have some new wonder books in. I guess these books kind of read to the children, but they seem to be a big hit. And I believe we're in the process of adding another staff person there because they're down from Tony's retirement at the end of the year. But I just wanted to introduce myself and say, if anybody has any questions, Devin's got my phone number and that kind of thing, but thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Does anyone have any questions for Mike regarding any of the items he spoke of? Mostly that he serves on the library board and that he thinks Carol does a great job. Anything? No? Since we don't have anybody else, I think now we can move to communications.
Yes, ma'am. I have 3 letters for communications to read to you. March 1st, 2021. Sue Hammond, Mayor, City of Perry. Mayor Sue Hammond and members of the Perry Planning Commission. This letter is meant to serve as an official notice of resignation from my position as member as Vice Chairperson of the Perry Planning Commission effective immediately. The reason behind my resignation is that I have begun college courses that require specific class schedule and a significant increase in time. There was something that God has directed and to happen in a short amount of time. This has led to the short notice I must give. This new direction in my career will not avail me the time necessary to continue with my duties for the council, to stay knowledgeable of the issues being addressed, and to continue to attend council meetings. I have enjoyed being part of the Planning Commission and working alongside each of the members, both past and present, during the last 3+ years. It has been exciting to see what has been done in Perry and to have been able to serve in continuing to make Perry a great city to live in. Please humbly accept my resignation, and I hope that a replacement can be quickly found to fill the position that I regretfully must step down from. I am sure that my replacement will be able to contribute to the continued growth and success of Perry and the Planning Commission. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of such a strong and dedicated team. I look forward to hearing of the continued development of Perry under the capable hands of each of you in the future. Sincerely, Craig Elliott. To whom it may concern, due to my ongoing health problems, it is necessary for me to resign my seat effective immediately. Terry Wood. March 1st, 2021, Sue Hammond, Mayor, City of Perry. Mayor Sue Hammond and members of the City Council of Perry. This letter is meant to serve as an official notice of my resignation from the position of councilman on the Perry City Council effective immediately. The reason behind my resignation is that I've begun college courses that require a specific class schedule and a significant increase in time. This was something that God has directed and to happen in a short amount of time. This has led to the short notice I must give. This new direction in my career will not avail me in the time necessary to continue with my duties of the council, to stay knowledgeable of the issues being addressed and continue to attend council meetings. I have enjoyed being part of the council and work alongside each of the members, both past and present, during the last 2+ years. It has been exciting to see what has been done in Perry and to have been able to serve in the continuing to make Perry a great city to live in. Please humbly accept my resignation and pray my replacement can be quickly found to fill the position that I regretfully must step down from. I am sure that my replacement will be able to contribute to the continued growth and success of Perry and this council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of such a strong and dedicated team. I look forward to hearing of the continuing development of Perry under the capable hands of Mayor Sue Hammond, the City Council, and the wonderful staff who work and keep Perry running so smoothly. Sincerely, Craig Elliott. And that's all I have for communications.
We will move any reaction to those resignations to the new business at the end of the meeting. Okay, Leanne, I think we've got time for you before we call the hearing, so please, and I apologize for.
So good evening, Mayor, Council. I am going to be reporting to you. Joanne was not able to be here tonight, so I told her that I would go ahead and give a report. Our tax season has closed on March 1st, 2021. Joe and I have been working together so we can go ahead and get our tax rolls together. Also, the dog license has to be returned to the county. So we collected $612,039.95. That puts us at 96% tax collection for this year. once we turn in our books to the county, they will go ahead and they will make sure we balance, and then they will issue that other 4% to us, so we continue to balance. And we did have 89 dog licenses sold as well. Joe and I have been working side by side, and everything that kind of comes through her desk, we have been working on together. So just wanted to let you know that the training is going well, and she's doing a really nice job of giving me a broad overview of everything that I will be experiencing in this job. And I also wanted to let you know that the BS training, the BSNA training that you guys went ahead and you approved, that'll be coming up on Friday the 12th, and I will be learning about the tax program. And then the following 2 Fridays, the 19th and the 26th, I will also be learning the general ledger as well. So I think that's all, unless anybody has questions.
Does anybody have questions for Leanne? Great. Thank you very much. I think we'll move at 7:15 into the public hearing regarding the special assessment distribution. So we'll just wait a minute here to do that so we don't do that late or early.
You can always do it late, you can't do it early.
Okay. Do we have a short department head report? Anybody with a brief report? John?
The only thing I want to report on is I got a memo or another grant application for a paving grant again, and I'm going to coordinate, unless there's a major objection, with Wolverine Engineering again. There is no pay unless we get the grant. Hopefully I'll have most of the numbers by budget time. I've got some preliminary stuff right now, so it's a 50-50 grant.
Thank you, John.
If anybody else has any questions for me?
Any other department head reports? Do you have
I have
something?
a short one, but
Okay,
it'll be a minute.
go ahead.
Okay, so annually, Shirley Smith, our accounts payable, she has to do a full disclosure. All council should have received it. And it's disclosing that she is partners with Travis Smith concerning the business of Smith Sand and Gravel. Smith Sand and Gravel has been requested to do work and sell products occasionally to the city of Perry for many years. All matters with the city take place with my husband Travis Smith and Department of Public Works. All invoices from Smith Sand and Gravel are reviewed and approved by the Superintendent of Public Works. The following service has been provided by the request of the Superintendent of Public Works to the city on an as-needed basis: aggregate materials, snow removal, asphalt patching of city streets. Thank you for your time. Shirley Smith. This was dated February 22nd, 2021, and this is put into her file that she has disclosed her outside service.
Thank you for that. Do you have anything else?
One more, but you want to do it afterwards?
Sure. It is now 7:15, so we'll move to the public hearing regarding the special assessment distribution, if there's anyone who has comment regarding that. Anyone on Zoom or anyone in the room?
Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak during this public hearing? If you do not know how to raise your hand, you can unmute and I can identify that you want to speak. Nobody on Zoom?
Anyone in the room? How long should we wait?
7:16.
I guess we don't have anybody who wants to address us regarding the special assessment distribution. Does council have any comments or discussion regarding that? will close the public hearing. And we will move on. Devin, do you want to continue your report?
Sure. I just want to make note to council, I had planned on putting this on the next agenda, so I gave you time to look on it. In our past years, we've done Perry's Pride and Put Your Best Face Forward. And it comes through council and you kind of decipher your sections at a council meeting. I also gave you the guidelines and how to select and I'll do that. And I just wanted to make you aware that we start bringing it in front of council and make that decision whether you guys want to do that. So if you're okay, I'll put this on next agenda. Okay. And that's all I had tonight.
Okay. We'll move that to the next agenda. Any other department head reports? Yes,
I
Kyle.
think I'm it.
Okay.
Got my back? Got my back? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Just wanted to update you that we have some training coming up at the Chiefs Conference at the beginning, or midway part of February. One of the presenters was from the Michigan Autism Safety Training Group. And so that perked my interest. I started a conversation with him, and we're going to be hosting here at Perry training the end of the month, the 30th. We're going to utilize our community room up here and have everybody spaced out. But we're expecting two sessions, two 2-hour sessions of about 30 police officers coming. And basically it's a broad overview of autism, but what officers need to do to recognize and how to deal with people that are on the spectrum in an appropriate manner. And a lot of people end up getting handcuffed and arrested due to the officers not being able to identify the fact that they may be affected by autism. So I'm excited for that. We coordinated that through our law enforcement training consortium, and that main group is between Shiawassee, Genesee, and really Lapeer counties, but with a broader reach than Hannigan. So I think at this point, from what I've been hearing, the class is nearly full for the afternoon session, and the morning session was filled up pretty quick too.
That's
So,
great.
we have a legal update done by our county prosecutor. That's 3 sessions. I think they've completed 2 at this point. We have another one tomorrow afternoon. This is all regarding Public Act 393 and how that affected arrest procedures in the state of Michigan, which I will tell you that based on what I've read so far and what I've heard about the training and the changes, we're going to see an increase in overtime because officers are going to be required to stay after versus come in the next morning when they work and get their police reports done and submitted to the prosecutor. Before Public Act 393, we had 72 hours after we arrested someone, and now it's it's about 12 maybe, depending on when they were arrested. So I actually am going through the training tomorrow, but from what I read, it's going to greatly reduce the flexibility that we have in submitting paperwork to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor then returning it back to us for a warrant and having the arrestee processed through the court system. Not thrilled about it, to be honest with you, but nobody asked my opinion when they passed it. We have updated our use of force to comply. I think I mentioned that last time. I did submit it to the Chiefs Association, and a couple of check boxes that were supposed to be checked didn't get checked when I sent it and when I saved it. So anyway, I sent that back, so I'm waiting for final approval on that. And I've still been working on the budget and getting estimates for the vests that I mentioned at the last meeting, and also a vehicle purchase. And on top of that, the auxiliary equipment that goes into the vehicle on top of that after it's purchased. been working with Leanne a little bit on the USDA grant. I heard about this a couple years ago, but it was right after we had purchased the last police car, and it was a lease, so it didn't qualify for any money. But that being said, between the vehicle and the vest, we may be able to tie that in somewhat to the money that is offered through that rural development grant. And lastly, later down in the new business on the agenda, we have discussion of approval for a new defibrillator, or AED. I've been working with Chief Hubbard on this. He notified me that we had a salesperson who was coming to many of the police, mainly the fire and ambulance agencies in the county, because the AEDs that we currently have and that they had are, the end of life is February of '22. They were not be recognized by the FDA at that point, and so kind of a liability to have it and have it not work at that point if something should happen. So that being said, he put me in touch with the sales rep from Stryker, and we're looking to upgrade both of our AEDs, the one for the city hall and for the police department. I just wanted to touch real briefly on some things. This is phenomenal technology compared to what we have downstairs. This actually interacts with the Wi-Fi network, and you can download the app, and it'll tell you the current status right now on your phone of that AED, no matter where it's at, as long as it's in Wi-Fi, which both of our AEDs will be connected to Wi-Fi on a pretty regular basis. The pads are another huge upgrade. It used to be you had to have separate pads for child and then separate pads for adult. They've combined them so that they're universal now. And they have a 4-year shelf life, which is huge because I think they were about 1.5 years before, and we're constantly rotating them out. Thankfully, we had the same brand and type that our ambulance crew uses, so we could rotate them out with them, and they would use them on a timely basis. So it didn't really cost us much, but the fact that we can have them in the cabinet for 4 years and not think about it, hopefully, is a big deal. So that'll be some cost savings in the long run also. But and a big perk, we put ours in a police car, and it gets cold in the wintertime, believe it or not, if you didn't know that. And that really kills the battery. These have lithium batteries that are rated for -10 below before they're affected. So it's a really big deal for us to be able to leave them in the car and not have to leave it running all the time and all that. So that helps greatly. But you have any questions about that? I have the brochure here. I can pass it around. It's a really good price, I will tell you, because of all the AEDs that this saleswoman is able to sell in Shiawassee County right now. She's doing quite well. She should get a pretty nice commission, but the cost savings for us is phenomenal. I want to say it's several hundred less per unit, even though it's up here technologically speaking compared to our other ones, because we're just, and it's not a grant or anything like that, it's just the sheer volume of what she's being able to sell. So it's a really good deal. Any questions? Any questions overall?
I think we're
All right. Thank you.
I think we've heard from all of our department heads. I do, though, have just a brief report I'd like to give regarding our collections on our water and sewer bills. Shirley and Dory have given me this information, and they've been working very hard to contact people who've been behind in their water bills, and they have really gotten this down a lot as far as balances due, although there are still many that are past due. And I just want to bring to your attention that if your utility bills are unpaid after April, is that right, Dory? Am I saying that right?
If they're 6 months past due as of March 1st.
Okay. If they're 6 months past due as of March 1st, a letter will go out in April telling you that, and that your utilities will then be attached to your taxes.
As a minimum, yes.
Yeah. and that will go to the county. So if you have any questions about that, please call. If you have, if you would like to make arrangements for partial payments on your water sewer bill, call Dory Shirley. Will help you with that, and that's probably the best thing to do. If you can't pay it all, at least pay some of it. And then I just wanted to give just a brief statement about my thoughts regarding taking care of properties that the city owns. We're coming up on preparing our new budget for the new fiscal year. And I believe that money should be budgeted for the maintenance of the city-owned buildings, such as the library building and the McQueen House, just like it is for City Hall and for the DPW building. To date, the money budgeted yearly for the library and the McQueen House has been woefully short, resulting in the need to amend the budget and pull money from the general fund when needs arise. Fortunately, the City Council has recognized the need for emergent repairs and money has been found, but I would like us to consider putting a higher amount of money into the budget for those buildings, and then perhaps in the near future, establish an ongoing millage or a special assessment for the museum building. There's already a special assessment or millage for the library building.
A millage, correct.
A millage. But I'd like us to think about doing something along that line for the museum building so that in the future, when it's time to paint again or put a new roof on in 25 years or whatever, that there's money there to do it. We have before council tonight some requests for repairs for both buildings. And I've talked with our treasurer, Joanne, about finding adequate money to cover those costs. And she assures me that we can certainly take money from the general fund and do that. And that's what's been happening. So again, I would like us to consider when we create our budget for this fiscal year that we would put more money there, so it's not such a search to find where that money would come from. I would like to see our community in the future become known for preserving our history. I'd like to eventually see schools bring their classes to our town, to see the museum, to see other historic things that may be developed, to visit our library, maybe even visit this building because it is a historic building. I would love to see our town promote that. And that's my thoughts in regard to those issues. Thank you for that time. Committee reports. Who would like to go first?
Good, Bob. We had our first, excuse me, Parks and Property Committee meeting, since I've been on council, took it over, so that was on February 23rd. We had, you guys all got minutes, so we have some general goals for this year. We're working on budgets for those. And then we'll prioritize. Hopefully the next meeting I'll have some more participants and I can delegate things for people to do. So if anyone, council has questions about their minutes on our meeting, happy to answer.
I thought your ideas that were mentioned in your minutes were great. I hope we can accomplish many of those.
I think Jennifer wrote about the things that we can do this year, like the geocache, and I think the one that is probably most likely to movies in the park. I think that's relatively inexpensive. It gives something for the community to do once a month or so in the summer. And then a walking path and maybe some exercise equipment on that, along that path. That's our goals for 2021.
Very nice. Any other questions for
I
Bob?
mentioned a similar thing to Bob when I spoke with him the other day, is that I thought the list was very creative. Some of the items I think are, very low cost, but could be a lot of esprit de corps for the community, so I applaud their first meeting's output.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, who would like to go next? Committee report.
I'll give you a report for the sign and, for the sign project we've been working on, the ordinance committee. I won't go through all of it, there's a lot there, but essentially what happened, I think I shared with you, well, 3 of you are on here. So Bob, we went
I've
through-
read through most of
Okay.
it, and then I had one question, I answered it myself once I read it again.
Okay,
So,
so really what it was is just, I would say, go through it, take a look at it, see if you have any questions, and then we can, decide if we want to move forward with it at the next meeting.
personally, I'm good with your recommendations.
Okay. Essentially, we dealt with the issues on the moratorium that we had on signs, removed the bidding process. And when we did this, we just went through the whole ordinance of the sign because there were so many things that were duplicated, so many different issues. And so we just rearranged some things, struck some things. So take a look at it, and then if you guys are all in agreement, then we can move forward. We did send it off, attorney, he sent back his recommendations, which would be what we would move forward with.
Just one thing that I didn't get a chance to mention to you, Adam, that the planning commission did get an opportunity to look at it Monday evening for their input. And it was in reality just one small thing as it regarded LED lights with a couple of wording changes that
Okay.
I don't think anyone will have a problem with. It clarifies the use of LED signage, if you will, just a little bit more completely than we had originally had it.
Okay. So we can make those adjustments. Larry, do you still have the original document?
Pardon?
Do you still have the original document?
Yep.
Okay. You want to just adjust those and then send them to Devin? Or add the words that you're talking about?
Yeah, basically
And send
changes
all
it
of
from LED lights to informational LED signs. In
Okay.
other words, it would be more specific to signs like we've got the high school, the Perry school sign that's LED, that would allow for those, but we didn't want to leave it open to have flashing signs like Times Square and things like that that are technically LED signs.
Okay.
Good. We do have that listed under old business to determine how we want to move ahead on that. So we'll move off there unless there's other questions for the committee. Anybody? Okay.
Okay, update from the Personnel Committee as well. We were able to go, or again, thanks to Devin, she sent us a job description, which, as far as we're concerned, that's sufficient for the purposes of the deputy superintendent position. And so that's what we would move forward with. And of course, we had conversations with John, and then while we have had extensive conversation about this part of it, I would assume we would just keep the job description that we have in place right now for the regular superintendent. So,
Are we ready then to place ads for the positions?
for both of these,
Mhm.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd say yes.
Okay.
You guys good with that?
I agree.
Yeah.
Shall we,
So, so has the discussion of wages been determined?
have you
We
determined?
kicked that around some this evening.
We just started kind of today discussing that. I think, I don't want to misspeak, but I think we're okay posting the job. Don't necessarily have to put a wage on that posting,
That's correct.
and then we'll have that ready by the time.
Yeah,
Okay, you think that it'll flow together? That's fine.
yeah.
That's why I
We're
want to
pretty
just
close
check.
now, it's just a matter of
Okay,
ironing some things out.
perfect.
You good, Ben Mindy?
Yep.
Okay. That's all we
Very
have.
good, thank you.
Okay, Business Affairs and Technology Committee, I spoke last time about the fact that we had our first meeting of getting underway with some other conflicts. We've slowed down a little bit, but in the interim, folks here at City Hall have begun to do some website cleanup and for clarity and cleanness, and we'll be moving forward here in the next week and a half to take a deeper dive into the material that's there and move forward, as I said before, with our outline of making sure everything is timely, accurate, and as complete as we'd like to make it.
Great.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is there any interest to pursue or see a demo of the TextMyGov or not? And that would also have to be a budget item to consider.
we'll get that done. I'll speak for the group, and if Adam, you or Mindy have anything to add, we circulate the information. We didn't really take a dive into it. Certainly we'll take a deeper dive before we actually need to make it a budget item.
He's a really good salesman. He's making sure that I don't forget it.
Okay. You can give him my email and number to have him bug me if you'd like.
No, and that is fine. I don't want, when you're ready, then you're ready, and
Yeah.
that's what, he can keep calling me, but I told him that I would at least inquire on the committee if there is even an interest, because he'll do a demonstration, over the computer and stuff when anybody, if you're ready or want to. Okay?
Thanks.
Is that all of our committee reports? I think that is. Okay. We'll move on then to presentation and approval of the bills.
I move that we approve the bills as presented and the payment be authorized.
Second.
That has been moved by Adam and seconded by Larry to authorize payment of the bills. All those in favor, please respond by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Then we can move into old business. Our first item under old business is to continue our discussion regarding creation of a DDA. We did get more information from our attorney. I think you've all had a chance to review that from Attorney English. The communication mostly talks about the area where the DDA would likely be acceptable, and what he says is the only portion of the proposed district likely to be acceptable as a DDA would be Main Street from Polly Street on the north and Orchard Street on the south, or he puts in quotations, the downtown portion. The proposed area must still be a business district defined as an area in the downtown of a municipality zoned and used principally for business. He says that regarding that downtown portion, it should qualify as there could be a showing of significant deterioration in value in a significant number of parcels and no significant development in the area. So, how would you like to proceed at this point, council, regarding DDA? We had been talking about gathering more information, perhaps having a workshop and bringing in some of the, well, all of the planning commission, but Justin from CIB, and maybe having a workshop to determine more information. But that would cost us a little money to set that up. I think it is in your resolutions, and it's $3,600. So the question before us is, do we want to move ahead with that, or what's your pleasure?
Did we get the tax information that we were asking for last?
Well, we can't
The last time we
get,
discussed it, we were asking for the assessor to give them some information. Did that happen?
we couldn't do that until they determined what the boundaries were going to be.
Okay,
And so this letter says
that's what the
what
boundaries
their
are.
recommendation would be for the boundaries. But I think CIB is who would make that determination as to what those tax captures would be. And that would be part of the $3,600 that we would be paying for them to do that. If I understand that
That
correctly,
would
Bob,
just
is
be the
that right?
initial cost, though. That'd be just the starting cost, that'd be, on top of that, you got at least another $10,000.
Oh, definitely, yeah, I think it was $18,000 to literally move ahead. The $3,600 would be to have the workshop and have the information regarding what the tax captures would be.
Yeah, if you do the $3,600 and then don't do the DDA, you're out to $3,600. if you do the DDA, then that $3,600 is applied to the quote.
To the quota, which is 18 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so you still
I'm
have
not in favor of spending any more money on it until we hear from the business people that would be within the boundaries and see what their feelings are if they want it. Because it kind of troubles me that if they don't have time to attend a meeting in the evening, like what Bob was saying, how are they gonna have time to run a DDA? And are they even gonna want to?
Yeah, I totally concur, Mindy, and the other thing that I would say on top of that is this the most effective way to bring help to the downtown? I mean, because it's been made clear through our discussions that this doesn't open us up to any other grants, and so if the goal is to get grants, and that's part of the idea, I don't know why we wouldn't look at a part-time grant writer. To me, that seems to bring more bang for the buck than the DDA. And you don't have a manipulation of the tax system, so.
I definitely wanna see some interest from the people that are involved, which are the business owners.
I concur. You know, number one, the $3,600, if we do elect to spend it, should be reduced by some amount. If I'm correct, that $3,600 was based on the old, larger footprint.
Right.
So there's less data to work through to do the tax calculations. But back to Mindy's point, I think that it's probably time to get some input from the central downtown business owners and operators to see whether or not there's even an appetite to move forward and spend any more city money.
I think getting business owners' input is vital. How shall we do that?
You could send a letter out to them. I know I've talked to some of them, the ones I've spoken to don't want it. But that doesn't mean that that's representative of the whole either, so I want to be clear in saying that. So my suggestion would either be send letters or make an announcement of the meeting somehow, let them know that they need input here. But it doesn't seem, I don't know, that's what I would do. You've got to communicate with them somehow. And if you're wanting to do it in an official capacity, I would send letters out to them.
I'd like a meeting.
A meeting with the business people?
Yeah, and that's what I mean, send letters out, tell them, encourage them to come to the meeting or whatever to discuss if they're interested.
Are you saying to have a special meeting, like a Saturday afternoon meeting or something like that, or during our council meeting?
Yeah, good
I
idea,
don't
come to your town
really-
hall.
I don't care if you want it separate or at one of our council meetings.
It could be during one of our town hall meetings, during the
Yeah.
half hour before.
Or not to conflict with the town hall meeting, which is usually our second meeting of the month. Maybe we want to take the first meeting of the month and say that's going to be dedicated to that portion of it at the meeting, but
The half
town
hour
hall
before.
type session, but with the business owners in regards to DDA.
That might
That would be
better.
after their business hours, I recognize, but to Mindy's point, if they're not willing to spend 45 minutes, an hour, or half an hour in the evening one time, you have to question their interest or commitment to the whole activity.
You just have to make sure that they're somehow contacted and make it an official invitation. And give them enough time to schedule it in their schedules. Because I agree 100%, we need to have, I don't want to spend $3,600 because it's, money's going to be tight this year. So
And they've got
I
to be the
want to know
ones-
people are really want to do this.
Mindy, I'm sorry.
They've got to be the ones that make the time to make it work, if they're gonna have one.
I'll go so far as to toss out a suggestion that it'd be a bad idea, but if we send a letter to all of the, on-file owners or business managers, if they don't own the property, and follow that up with personal contact by one of us sometime after they've had it to really encourage their participation. It wouldn't have to be more than a 5-minute or at least a personal phone call to encourage their involvement, participation, at least to have dialogue with us.
Should the letter, I mean, I don't, Bob, maybe you could shed some light here. How much do the business owners know about what a DDA might bring to them? Do you know? Have
Well,
they?
based on what we did last time,
Okay,
if they paid attention to what we told them, they know a lot about it.
okay.
As far as them coming to a council meeting or something like this, you're gonna find that most of the business owners leave town when they close up their shop. And you're gonna have a tough time getting them back, but we always had the meetings with the business owners in the afternoon from 4 to 5.
Oh, okay.
And we told them at the time, it'll start at 4 o'clock and end at 5 o'clock. And they planned around that, and it worked out great. We had tremendous participation in it of the key business people.
What meetings were those?
Huh?
What meetings were those that you're talking about?
Those are the ones that we had,
The workshop?
yeah.
There was only Mr. Darling and Mr. Wilson and Mrs. Wilson.
And Kevin.
and
Yeah, 'cause I
Kevin.
would say there's key business people down there, Bob, I don't even know that we're
That's
classified
only-
that way, that's just absolutely close to it, they have good businesses down there. More than one. And so,
That's
that's,
only 4 people.
yeah, that's what I said, and there's more there. It's gotta be broader than that.
But we had the people from the truck stop.
They only came once, and that was the initial introduction to the DDA.
But this should be a meeting of the people who are within the boundary that the attorney has defined.
Yes.
So, and,
Could we talk about that too?
I'm sorry?
I feel like that boundary is a little bit big.
The
The
one the
attorney-
attorney defined?
Yeah, I feel like why would it go down to, what street was that?
Orchard?
Holly is.
South
Orchard.
Orchard Street is the,
Yeah,
to include the funeral home. That's a business. That, I think, is the only business that's in there. But if they weren't interested, yeah, you could shorten it back up, but that is a business that's contiguous to the downtown. So would you like me to send a letter out? And then I'll send the letters to council as well, and include in each of your letters the business owners that you would need to call or visit to see if they have questions, see if they will come, whether they're interested or not, or whatever. Does that sound like a good approach?
I tossed it out as an idea. I mean, if we can't, with personal contact, get some enthusiasm to attend a meeting, it really sends a message in my mind in terms of
Yes.
what are we doing.
That's not mine too, if they can't stick around town for an hour for a meeting, then they're not seeing any value in this. Because as a, if they see value in this for their business, they're gonna spend an hour. They invest a whole lot more than that, let me tell you.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
Council can disagree or not, or agree. In your letter, like with the public hearing, when we put the notice in your letter, would be kind of their notice, to allow a certain time that they would be allowed, instead of attending, writing us a letter of recommendation or whatever, an opinion. So you would, at least, would council appreciate something, even if it's not a physical appearance? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think you'll get more response that way too. I think folks be more inclined to write a letter versus film.
sure. And I feel we need to know from them if they are gonna have time and ability to be on a DDA board and make it happen.
Yeah, and even Brian, I agree with that maybe completely too, then piggybacking on that, I would say too, even more so than just the property owners, because there's tenants down there, the rent's gonna go up if you start raising the taxes on the property owners. That's definitely been a concern of some already. you know? So if you end up messing with their property tax value, and they gotta pay more, their rent's gonna go up.
How is the property tax gonna go up based on the DDA?
Isn't that the whole purpose, to increase
No.
property value? Yeah, that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to add value to downtown. If you're not trying to do that, then I don't even know why we're having this discussion.
You're not gonna increase the value, the taxes are gonna go up naturally.
But you have the ability
To leverage millage against them.
increase by 2 mils.
Okay.
You have that ability. And do a special assessment on things. The ability is there.
And Bob, that's not, and the way you describe that's not entirely accurate either, because the only reason why you're allowed to have a DDA there to begin with is because you have declining property values. If you have property values go up, that increases their tax bill, which therefore increases rental tenants. That's the way that works. And so if you didn't have a declining property value, you couldn't put it there to begin with. And that's why the Four Corners is being excluded, because you don't have a degrading of property values there, and you have activity being built out there. So by that standard, it doesn't even qualify, you know, in addition to it's not being contiguous to the original downtown district.
Well, and the majority of it is included in the 425 agreement, which would really make it difficult to collect any taxes, because a portion of the taxes go to the township anyway.
Well, the map that you presented includes my property, and I would highly protest being in that DDA. Seriously.
Well, that's what the group decided they wanted.
Well, that,
No, that's how we set it up. We had that business group and those meetings, and
Yeah.
that's what they wanted.
Well, Bob, you did get a copy of that letter, right?
Yes.
Didn't I send that to you? And has your planning commission seen that?
No.
I think it's important for them to know that information. Perhaps they would say, well, then it's not worth doing it, and that would bring it all to a screeching halt anyway, or perhaps they wouldn't, but I think they should know.
Okay, I'll send that out tomorrow.
Yeah. The other thought, rather than just a letter, I guess, asking for a reply, maybe is like a survey kind of form, where they can just check a box, yes or no, have a place to write some comments, and then mail it back. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I think giving them options is good,
I'd like to make it as easy as possible for them to reply.
absolutely.
And you're suggesting, Sue, that we do any personal follow-up, excuse me, based on the results of their either not responding, or if they had comments, that we would need some personal contact for clarification
Yes,
at the
absolutely.
meeting.
Yeah, definitely if they don't reply. And yes, I think we should personally be in touch with each of them, but definitely if they're not sending a reply. And I think it is, I mean, that's a key. If the business owners are really not interested in having a DDA, it's certainly going to weigh heavily on the decision. Is there anything else, council, that you would like in that communication?
It's good for me, it's good for you guys.
I would like to remind everyone that when it comes to including residential properties, that's the reason my property is in the city today. Myself and my neighbors went to the city to get out of that DDA. And then the map that was presented still has us in it. frustrated as to why.
Yeah. Even, no, I'm not sure where you're at, Mindy, but the new one that doesn't.
I'm down Britton Road,
Okay,
past the high school.
yeah,
I'm in that 425 area.
okay. So with the new one, even that, it would be excluded then, but then again, you're still, to me,
But
it
the
must-
map, I'm saying the map
Yes,
that was used back then, before we knew that the 425 couldn't be in it, is the same map that was used currently to give to CIB and Row Engineering for their presentations.
But then when the drawing was sent to the attorney, this was his reply in regard to that. That bigger boundary outline was not
Yes.
going to be acceptable. So when you say my property's still in it, you're talking about the boundary that the planning commission gave us,
Yes.
not what the attorney is defining as acceptable.
And so that, and I don't want people in the district and in the downtown and the businesses, I don't want them thinking they're still in it. Like the people down at Lansing Road. And like that, I want,
So you're asking for a map to be included in this letter so that it defines exactly what's being considered for a DDA and their input?
Well, I would only,
Well,
my
planning
thought would be
commission
only
was
to send the
presenting
letters to the businesses within the attorney-defined area.
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah,
Because the planning commission has been presenting it as all of this.
they did, yes.
Yes, they
And
did.
that's what we sent to the attorney, and the attorney says, no, that won't work. And that's what I'm asking Bob, to make sure the planning commission is aware that the attorney, the city attorney said, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It might be prudent for you to touch base with each of your planning commission members to see if they want to even move ahead with that different boundary. If they do, then I'll send out the letter. If they don't, then I don't see any reason to. So I'll wait to hear from you.
Yep.
Because that was commented before, a couple of years ago, that, well, if it's not gonna be the big boundary, then there's no point in doing it. Remember?
I don't remember that.
I do.
Wilson's and you and we're all pretty
The
much in
council at the-
agreement that if it wasn't gonna be big, then,
The council at the time was actually negotiating and would say, if you just made it the downtown, we would support it. And that was, so it was shut down because planning commission wanted more.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Bob, you'll get with the members of the planning commission, present the attorney's letter, let me know what your preference is. If you want to move ahead with those boundaries, we'll send out a letter and a survey to the business people, follow up with them, talk to them. But you'll let me know, I won't send anything out until I hear from you.
All right.
Okay, let's move on.
No action taken on all three items then?
No action taken on all three items.
Thank you.
We now have a discussion before us regarding zoning violation recommendations. This also has a letter back from the attorney regarding our request for him to give us some guidelines in giving the zoning administrator authority to issue some type of a fine or ticket, if you will, to enforce violations. You all got that letter, I think. The letter defines what it would take
to do that, and that's basically new ordinance in the existing ordinance for the zoning administrator, defining what can be done when someone is in violation of the ordinance. It's quite a process, but it's pretty spelled out there. We also got information from the Michigan Municipal League about that as well. So I hate to overburden our Finance and Ordinance Committee, but if council wants to move ahead on looking at this, I think it needs to go to the Finance and Ordinance Committee to make a determination on how to amend our ordinance. What do you think, Chairman?
I'm fine.
Are you good with that? Everybody good with that? Okay,
I'll get with you guys all day.
so we'll move that to Finance and Ordinance. We'll do a no action taken so that it remains on the agenda for discussion as you're making progress. Alrighty. The sign ordinance amendment is next under old business. And that's what Adam was talking about earlier, as far as the Planning Commission did get a chance to review it and made a few little tweaks.
Yeah, there's just one, couple word changes in 2 spots, and that's the only changes that they made relative to what everybody got as information already.
Okay, so the changes are not in this,
They are not in,
okay.
and I think what Devin provided to all of us is the original as it exists
Okay.
on record today, not the proposed. All of you got an email copy of the,
You should have gotten a hard copy of it too
Right, with the hard
in your
copy was on-
packet
right,
of your amendments.
correct.
Okay.
Did you get the attorney one? Did you get
And
the
just for
attorney?
clarity, you don't mind, I'll just go through and point out
For which one?
The
slight
sign on
verbiage changes
I
on
got,
page 2
Yes.
of
the other day I got the last time.
the document, under illumination, point K. The change previously read, except for LED lighted signs, and continues on, it would be except for informational LED signs.
Okay.
Will you say that again, I'm sorry? Instead of, except for LED signs?
Right.
it
Or
would be-
currently, in everybody's copy of the proposed changes, it says, except for LED lighted signs. The Planning Commission recommendation for wording change would be, it would say, except for informational LED signs. In other words, signs that are just LED flashing wouldn't be permitted, but things like the school sign next to Carl's, any of the digital signage, LED signage downtown, as long as it was conveying information, would be acceptable and excluded. And there's one other spot further back in the document that is exactly the same verbiage change. Other than that, the Planning Commission, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, was fine with all the proposed changes.
So at this point, council, do you want to have this proposed ordinance revision sent back to the attorney? Because we have made a couple little tweaks.
Well, I think my recommendation would be, I don't believe that he'll have any issue with that minor change. He only made 2 minor changes to
Right.
what we sent the last time.
Yeah.
I would recommend, and if we need a motion, we do that, that it go back to him to be properly formatted for ordinance reading at the next meeting, or whenever it's ready.
Okay? Do you want to make that motion?
Good.
I move that as it regards proposed changes to the sign ordinance, that they are referred back to our attorney for reformatting with the content and changes, reformatting such that it's ready to come back before council as an ordinance reading and potential adoption after that.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the sign ordinance amendment be sent back to the attorney for reformatting and then brought back to council for consideration for a first reading.
Can I do what she said?
Sure can.
Okay. It said the same thing, just less words. Thank you.
Moved by Larry, seconded by Adam. All those
Thank you,
in
Larry.
favor, please.
Yes.
All those opposed, nay or no? Okay, that passes. Very good. Good job, you guys. That was a lot of work. That was a lot of work. We're now on to new business, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Larry.
Thank you, Sue. I had asked that we put this item on the agenda for some preliminary discussion, not that we'll get complete answers, but I think as we're moving into a new calendar year and the snow is moving off most every place, that we need to have some discussion about what events we want to try to get back on track with for the city of Perry this calendar year. At least be able to start to firm up and communicate intent, at least out through like the first 5 or 6 months of the year. What each of you have are just some thoughts, and basically I went back through our website and looked at old newsletters, at old photos, etc., and just tried to highlight kind of a starting working list of what are some events that have been hosted or sponsored within the city in the last few years. The one probably is that we need to make a determination of soon is whether or not we're going to have any involvement or try to host an Easter egg hunt, given that we're very close. I believe that's been done in past years, with the exception of COVID, caused the cancellation of it this last year. The community yard sales was postponed and held in conjunction with Perry Fest. I'd be an advocate to try to get back in the more traditional May time frame. If we want to continue that, along with whether or not we do a hazardous waste collection day or not this year, because I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, Dory, that's been every 2 or 3 year event, not necessarily every year for the hazardous waste.
Yes, we just provide the location, and the health department's the one that comes in and does that. So it's 2 or 3 years. I don't know if we'll get it this year. We can try again.
Yeah, we may not need to, but I'd like to suggest that we try to do the community cleanup week like we've done in the past, and you can read down through there, but I'd like to think that at least down through the May kind of time frame, that we begin to say, are we or are we not going to work out the details and get those on everybody's calendar and radar? Comments, thoughts?
Well, we organized Easter egg hunt for a long time, and I can tell you now that there's not enough time to do that. That would take us, because we would do 12,000 eggs, that would take us months to stuff. So on that, as far as our participation, I don't think that we could do that. We just wouldn't have time.
Yep, okay, and that's fine. I know that these don't happen overnight, so it had been one that was there, and we are in a crunch time to be able to make it happen with all the planning, etc. But you might want to keep it on the radar if it's something we want to do for 2022.
Absolutely.
Just like I put the Mudge Fest, as I dug back, there was, in past years, back in the 08-09 time frame, there were some downhill racing events that were held on Mudge Hill. That may or may not be something that we want to do to break up the monotony of winter time here in the future. Certainly isn't going to happen this year. Appetite for the community yard sale in the May time frame. Is that something that we can get behind and get on track and get on the calendar for planning purposes?
I would think we could, because there's not anything other than advertising. Dory, what are your thoughts?
We do try to promote it pretty heavily. I know it was missed this past year, but we have always tried to do it the weekend after Mother's Day.
Uh-huh.
And then immediately following, the week following is the cleanup week. And we've already had people inquiring about that, and we have a tentative date on cleanup week. It's just tentative right now with Rangers. And actually, we do act as the call center. They call and schedule stuff with us.
Okay.
So we really don't do anything, other than that, we promote it. And right now, that would be the week of May 17th.
That would be the cleanup day?
The cleanup.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if we did the yard sale, it would be typically Friday, Saturday, Sunday would be the 14th through the 16th.
Correct.
Just the day.
Uh-huh.
That is the third weekend in May.
Yeah, our general rule was always said the weekend after Mother's Day.
Okay.
We found that it used to be earlier, and the rainy season caught it a lot, which we still sometimes run into that. But by moving it that extra week, that really kind of helped get at least one good day if you were in a rainy weekend.
And then with cleanup week being that immediately following that Monday, anything left over from yard sales is put up to the curb and it's picked up automatically.
Well, Dory, if you think we can jump in and start advertising for that, both events, I think we'll want to do that. Council, is that right? Yeah?
Yes.
Seeing a lot of head shake, yes? Okay. As far as the rest of this list, I think it's a great list, lots of great ideas. And I would say some of the ideas from the Parks and Properties Committee could mesh in with this as well. I made a list before I knew Larry was going to have a list. That happens quite often, but, and my list was suggesting monthly events as well. I would like to see us do regular monthly events, even if some of the events are having a build a snowman contest out in the yard here, in January. Doesn't have to be things we would spend money on, but it seems to me that the attendance for Perry Fest as a festival has fallen, not just because of COVID, prior to COVID, and that maybe it's just time to change things up a little bit.
It is dwindling, and I was going to recommend giving it a new look. The car show was such a phenomenal success last year. I'd like to change this location as the car show location. Is absolutely perfect. I mean, everything went off without a hitch, except for we didn't have food, and that was because of COVID.
Right.
It was kind of hard. But we could also incorporate with that, because it's like 50s, 60s type of deal, and 70s. Maybe possibly a dance, an outdoor dance, and, well, of course, then you're gonna have your live music, and possibly end the day with fireworks,
We have a new DJ in town. Maybe we'd want to talk to DJ rather than live music.
Yeah.
It'd probably be less expensive.
Well, the guy that does the car show, that coordinates it, he has all that stuff, and we don't get charged for that.
Oh, I see.
What we're mainly responsible for is the promotion, and heavy promotion, because you need to reach out, and a lot of these people, these car show enthusiasts, they've already got their calendars filled out. They do it for the entire season.
Sure.
So he just contacted me again, and I told him I didn't know anything, but he's still open.
What do you think about having a committee that would help you come up with things to do? And then bringing Bob's committee into that because of the things he'd like to do.
Right.
And Larry, because of the things that he's suggested here.
Mhm.
But also, we could have some people from the community, if you know of people that you've worked with in the past who are excited about community events
Well,
and,
that's why Perry Fest has fallen off,
yeah.
because they burn out, you know.
Right.
Volunteers are few and far between,
Right,
you know, so without them, I just took it over myself.
yeah.
There was basically two of us. But-
Two of you? Who
Yeah.
was the other one?
And we were doing it, you know.
Yeah.
but- So I do have one volunteer that's.
Well, and I think we need to recognize that. I mean, why does that happen? Probably because of a lack of interest, you know.
Yeah. But
So
I mean,
again,
yeah.
and I don't mean to just push my idea, but I am kind of pushy sometimes. I just think Perry Fest is past its
It
prime.
needs, yeah. it needs-
If you wanted to make one of the monthly events a car show, then there we are.
Yeah.
But to try to put a whole festival together for a weekend and then have bad weather or have it be sometime when people are all up north or, you know, or whatever, it just is a lot of work and doesn't get much results, and it results in burnout. The people who work so hard at it, just, I mean, you are burned right out.
Exactly. But by the same token, if you're talking, I mean, and I love the snowman idea, but winter in Michigan, you know, you go ahead, you know, plan for a month.
Yeah, you might not have
snowman,
snow,
and there's not gonna be
exactly.
snow, you're gonna have
That's
mud.
right. Yeah, that's right.
You know,
That's
so,
right.
because we're in Michigan, it's always iffy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good, you know, get Home Depot out here and have a birdhouse making competition. They'll bring the kits and everything and invite the kids up to do it out
Yeah.
in the pavilion, that type of thing.
I think that would be a great April project,
Yeah.
because then the kids could put their birdhouses out for the birds for
So
spring.
there are a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
It's just trying to get it done.
Yeah. I don't know, Larry, I kind of jumped in, I'm sorry. What
No,
else
no,
have
that's
you
quite
got?
all right. My intent was not that we're gonna solve the whole list of calendared activities for the year, but to begin some dialogue and discussion. We've said what we can't do. We said we're gonna at least get the community yard sale, I don't wanna call it garage sale, community yard sale, and the aftermath cleanup week calendared and moving forward. And, yeah, I don't know whether or not, we've in the past had a Memorial Day parade, whether that's something that there's
We
any
don't do
interest from
anything
the,
with that.
pardon?
That's totally VFW. They-
Right, so I was gonna say, whether or not, if the VFW wants to do it, we can at least, you know, promote it to make,
Correct,
let
yeah.
everybody know about it.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that we were gonna, you know, organize that parade, but,
yeah.
At least they're open again now, so you
Yeah,
can.
they are open.
to somebody.
Last year, they just couldn't pull it together because
Right.
they were closed and,
Right.
you know, trying to get their volunteers
right,
in.
it was. So I'd suggest that we do what you talked about, Sue, beyond that, is say, okay, maybe in another month or so, we revisit it and say, what are the next group of ideas or activities that we may wanna pursue out into the summer or fall timeframe.
I
Summer
like
may be a
that. I
bad
like
time
that
to do much
idea.
of anything with everybody else's activities, but
Okay, so right now, Dory, I guess we'd like to have you promote or design a way to promote the community yard sale and then the community cleanup week, the dates that were talked about. And then at next month's meeting, come back together if you could come again. And then we'll talk about where to go next, right? Good? Let's move on. Thank you, Dory, for coming tonight. We have next on our agenda the possible adoption of the resolution to create the special assessment district for the ambulance.
Note, council must determine how many years in this resolution.
Say that once more, Devin, I'm sorry.
Council must determine in this resolution how many years the special assessment will be.
Previous one was 10, wasn't it, Devin?
The maximum period is 15 years according to a city attorney. We had 10 years the last special assessment.
So that would need to be filled in on the second page of the resolution where there's a kind of a gray rectangle there. The last special assessment was 10 years. And Devin said we could go as much as 15.
I don't think it should go more than 10, personally.
Is it better to go less and then, so that it isn't, when you do it, an increase again, it's not as big of an increase?
Well, there is a provision in here, and there was before too, that the assessment could increase up to 10%. And that is revisited every year in May, the first council meeting in May.
And if you note, Guy made a point of that, is that he regrets of not utilizing that.
Yes, I remember.
And so, you know, they're happy that they were able to comply with that dollar amount, but now it's just not affordable to stay in that 45. So I know that's where we had to guess, probably with the additional $20, that's quite a big jump. So.
I think some of the community pushback about this, or what I've heard, is the ability to raise it 10%. Now, I know council has to approve it, but none of us may be on this council when it is renewed. It's just like tax assessment. Yes, they're allowed to raise it X. They don't have to, but they always do. So I would, it's a little, I don't know if it's too late, but I would like to see that struck out of there and be readdressed every year on the need that comes about.
That's how it's set up.
I think it's too late to
It
do that, but.
is, it is set up so that it is addressed every year. Every May, council has to.
Right, we can approve it or not approve it, or
Correct.
do whatever, right?
That's right. And this last special assessment, during that whole 10 years, it was never increased, which is
Correct.
why it was a bigger increase than,
I don't disagree with the lack of planning,
yeah,
you know, because now we have $20 increase instead of a little increase.
right.
But there's a multiplier factor of that also. 65, 10% of that 650,
Right.
that goes up to $72, $73, and then 10% of that $730,
Right.
so on and so on. It's
Right.
a snowball.
Yeah.
And where do we stop? So,
Well, the increase is to cover costs of the trucks, the personnel, the equipment that's needed to run the ambulance.
well, don't get me wrong, I think the ambulance is one of the most important things we can have. And I believe wholeheartedly, it needs to stay with the fire department.
Yep.
I'm not a big privatizer guy. I don't think there's, to me, that's smoke and mirrors. I'm just concerned, and I know it can be addressed by the council every year, and that's the only thing I worry about, is that unknowing.
I do want to let council know, I was going to put a copy of the letter in, and I forgot to do that. Jeremiah, who was here at the last public hearing, he did, after we sent out the notice for this public hearing, with the explanation that was in there about the breakdown of the special assessment, he sent me an email thanking us for putting that information out there. He said he really appreciated it, and he felt that that's how that should have been presented when the first mailing went out. And I have to say, obviously I'm new to this, but in retrospect, I agree with him. There should have been more of an explanation in there with it, but we've got that addressed now, and obviously for lack of anybody being here to have any comments, we're don't have a lot of opposition, but I think having the 10% availability in there is good, because otherwise it's just gonna build up, build up, build up until the end of the assessment, and then we'll have a $20 or whatever amount that it'll jump up anyway.
And I might add, it's more like 20 years, if not more, of the 45. The 10 years, it did not increase, but that's beside the point you're making tonight, Mr. Porter.
I don't know if you shorten the time there, Bob?
I'm sorry?
You comfortable with the time shortened?
I think, yeah, no more than 10 in my opinion. Mindy, I don't know what you said, if you had a timeline that you were thinking of.
No, I had just forgotten about the 10%. And I have to agree with Sue that I think if we utilize that as, you know, if they need it,
Yeah.
if they need more and we utilize it, then later it won't be such a big jump.
I think we might have to be more proactive in regard to that, rather than waiting for CISA to say to us, yes, we need more, no, we don't.
Or even if we have, just ask
We
them.
exactly, we
No.
need to get with them
Yeah.
every April.
We always do. We always do, and every year that I've been here, they've said, don't increase it.
Yeah.
So we've always gotten their recommendation.
Well, I guess that's all we can do. You know, I would certainly rather see a 1% increase every other year or every third year or something.
1 or 2% is a lot more palatable than 10%.
Absolutely.
Essentially what we do with the water funds. You do the same thing with the water fund, increase 3% a year, keeps the funds healthy.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is your final resolution. If you want that clarity and to verify it,
Well, it
you
does
could
say
direct
up
me
to,
on the
or not to
questions.
exceed 10%.
You
So
could,
the council has leeway in that.
Yeah, it says in the city reserves the right to increase the assessment at such time in an amount not to exceed 10% of the costs established for the prior year. So yes, it does say that.
but we're in the time frame to meet this. If you still support the special assessment for the July 1st, 2021 taxes, this could wait for another meeting. We have followed all the protocol of having our first and second public hearing. This is your final resolution if you should move forward. And so this isn't an urgency to have this happen tonight. It's just there was no questions at this point, so it's in front of you.
If we change the language, for example, the 10%, do we have to then put it through 2 more public hearings?
Not my belief, that's what I was kind of looking at. We gave notice that that's what we considered. But again, on file, if the city elects to establish a special assessment with the existing longer than 1 year, then the costs anticipated to increase in the future greater than 10%. So anticipated, a determination cost made each year. It's telling us how we would do the process, not to exceed 10%. And again, I think we served notice. If you're keeping 1% and just decreasing it on the possibility, these are legal questions, but from what I see in the notice that's set to the people, as long as you're staying in those parameters or less, your final resolution should be fine, but we would need legal opinion on that.
Okay.
Because
We have
yes,
to
I would.
determine the years we want to run.
The years is always, that's open, that's part of this final determination. That
Right.
is, the max is 15, and then you guys determine it
The
from there.
minimum is whatever we want to put it at.
That is totally council, yes.
Or something, we're gonna have a, or somewhere yet, probably.
I'm okay with no more than 10 years, so if anyone
Okay, this
is,
is 10 years?
yeah.
We've got to read the resolution, Devin?
Yeah.
We have to read
I
the
gave you a
resolution.
short version, if you're not changing it, you can read the short version, because it addresses the
Short version and
main
possible
thing.
motions or the full resolution?
Nope, you don't have to read the full resolution, you can.
Okay.
The only thing I'd ask if you read the short version, I've been quiet here, is that rate not to exceed $65 per unit in year one.
Sure. The whole resolution will be in the minutes, that's why we
Right,
can do
okay.
it, do the short version, so, but yes, we can add that in your short version.
I don't understand.
So I give you a condensed version of your resolution, so
Yeah.
you don't have to read the whole thing. He's concerned that I quoted the $65 in the first year, that should be what should be stated. And I explained, even though you guys are making the motion and state that, this whole resolution will be in your proposed minutes as stated, is what he's saying. So it's okay to say that right now, because I'm gonna have the whole thing in your proposed minutes.
So are you saying you want this to just be for 1 year?
No.
He
Okay.
just saying,
Why don't I go ahead and read what I think
Okay.
my recommendation would be. I move that we accept and adopt the resolution as presented, which creates a special ambulance assessment district to be levied July 1st, 2021 for 10 years at a rate not to exceed $65 per unit in year one.
Support?
Support.
I'm happy.
Adams second.
sorry, I forgot you can't see my lips moving.
It's been moved and seconded to pass the resolution to create the special assessment district. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All those opposed signify by saying no.
I still don't understand the 1 year.
He's just saying that that you still have the right afterwards to do the 10%. He's afraid that if you say it's just the 65, that it eliminates the 10% for the next years.
Yeah.
So by
He's
saying
justifying-
65 year one, that way you could still make the adjustment in year two.
It begins year
Okay.
one with 65. And then after
And
that,
then the
it
10
could exceed with a percentage. But it'll all be to the public in the motion.
Thank you.
And next on our agenda is the check signers for the city, and Leanne spoke to that earlier a little bit, but there is a resolution here regarding authorizing 2 check signers for the city. Any discussion on that? Anybody interested in making that motion?
I move the council approves the purchase of 2 defibrillators and 2 sets of electrode pads for City Hall and 1 police vehicle, and authorizes payment to Stryker Medical for an amount not to exceed $3,403.
Is there a
Okay,
motion in
that
front of
was-
that?
That was the life pack defibrillators, so we'll act on that.
Second.
And is there a second?
Second.
Adam? All those in favor of that motion to approve the life pack defibrillators signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed signify by no. And now we'll just back up to approve the check signers.
We don't
That's
have-
just above that. Anybody want to make that motion?
Did I not give you guys, did that not
Uh,
copy in?
Did you give us the names of the signers, or?
Yeah.
I don't have it, if we,
Is it on the updated one, Devin?
I think this,
It did copy, it must not have copied over.
Okay.
That's a copy and paste and it got missed somehow.
I think Adam's got it.
unless it's in here.
No, I'll give you mine.
I move that we authorize any 2 of the following: mayor, treasurer, clerk, and deputy clerk treasurer to be the signers on the city accounts.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve check signers for the city. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed by no. Okay, motion passes. We're now moving on to the discussion of library repairs, and I think John has some information for us on that.
So, a little less than 2 weeks ago, I met with Jamie, the director of the Community District Library, in regards to some remodeling that they would like to do inside, and I don't know if, the roof on the building, the city had replaced, I'm gonna say around 15 years ago. So that, I think that's in good shape still. We did the upper front facade, I do have a couple pictures, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure everybody had put a new sign up, wind tore the old one off. So basically where I'm looking at and asking, I'm gonna put it in the budget, is for, from the metal down, so some of the soffit, to remove that front post and center the door, and on the building. I'm getting some quotes around, I don't have any numbers right now, I'm gonna put it in the budget. We'll deal with it that way when we get there. I'm just trying to, help them be able to spruce that library up and make it a little more presentable. So we're looking at, what I've looked at so far is squaring these making the windows more rectangle and getting rid of this drop. So it would open it up and be wide across the whole. And as we look downtown with a couple of the contractors, most everything has some sort of brick front. So I'm getting two options on the quotes just to see where stuff will fall. The interior stuff, as far as I know, they're not asking us to do anything, that the CDL is gonna work on that. But we wanna do it together when we replace the windows and whatnot, then they can start on the inside, so.
You said the roof was like about 15 years old?
Yep,
That's a flat
Superior,
roof, rubber roof, I would assume?
yep,
Would it be prudent for us to have it inspected?
we can. The warranty, I think I had a 20-year warranty maybe. Superior out of Lansing.
Maybe we
installed
ask
it.
them to come,
Sure,
just to give us a peace of mind,
yep,
I know the experience with rubber roofs, they're good until they're not.
right.
So, we can catch something before, and if it's got a warranty, maybe it'll help
Sure.
them with the warranty.
So the interior stuff, I kinda was helping Jamie. I did send a few things to Bob and Sue that they had come up with, and we're looking at, there's a side door that comes out towards the fire department. They want that eliminated. I did talk to the building inspector a couple of years ago about that. There is an egress out the back. So the interior remodeling is gonna be quite extensive as far as the look. As far as, I don't try to sell stuff, but I'm gonna try to sell this because I think it's deserving. That we try to put forth a good effort to spruce up the front if we can and make it worthwhile for the citizens.
You mentioned, John, that you're talking about in the quotes, larger windows to try to open it up and make it look a little brighter, things from the
Yeah.
street.
Just,
Right.
yeah, to square this off across the bottoms.
Yeah, basically make them
Big rectangles.
big rectangular.
A nice window, center that front door, try to get rid of that post, so there's no obstruction going in and out. They would have us, a drop slot still. We can either try to match towards, TDS or the bricks on the other end or something like that, that will look decent. If that's too much, then, there's other options out there. I don't know all the building materials, but there's stuff a little more durable for the downtown look than T11 siding. Not that there's anything major wrong with it, but these windows, they're leaking. You can see cracks in them. I mean, I can go down and caulk them. I am kind of getting like a 2-option deal. I don't know that it's a good idea to have windows that can be opened in case someone leaves them unlatched. Someone can hop in there. So that was kind of discouraged away from by one of the contractors. So I don't have any prices though.
Well, it's your early 2 weeks is.
Right.
Yeah, take a couple
I can do a weatherman report, but we'll have to wait till the storm gets.
Is there any time frame for the library people to start their work inside, or are they gonna wait?
Well, it's probably gonna be a deal like, I'll probably help assist, it'll be a complete project.
Okay,
You know, what we do then, because you want the windows in, and then their crews will be tearing off the inside too, and drywall in and doing that.
so once you get your estimates, you're gonna put that in the budget for the next year? You don't anticipate having to spend any money before that goes into effect?
No, I think unless you guys wanna try to come up with money before the end of the budget year.
Do you need it before?
Well,
Are the windows leaking, or, I mean, is there more
they're
damage being
drafty,
done?
they're
Okay.
drafty. The door I was going to replace
Yeah,
when we were looking at the other, to move the physical library.
right,
I canned that because it overlapped in budgets,
right,
and I didn't put it on the next budget
Okay.
because I didn't know if we were staying or going.
okay,
So that's why that didn't get done.
okay.
It would have just been a door replacement and not like a remodel. This is more extensive and a better way to go,
Okay.
so.
Council, any more questions for John?
Thanks, Jeff.
I want to make a comment. I got a chance to spend some time with Carol yesterday, and obviously she, is excited about the overall project. I would suggest possibly when we've got some quotes, that we look and see what kind of dollars we're talking about, because I got a feeling that they'd get started sooner rather than later.
Sure.
So at least we could explore the feasibility of whether we can fund the front facade in this budget yet, or whether we have to build it in the next year.
Okay.
So do we want to just wait to hear from John when he has those estimates, or do you want to put this on the agenda for next meeting, or just wait?
I'd recommend that we wait until he's
Okay.
got the estimate, so we've got some idea how much money we might be talking about, and then we can assess the feasibility of how quickly we can practically help fund it.
So once you get your numbers together, let us know, we'll revisit this at the next council.
Okay.
Okay?
And I'm having them separated, what we would do and,
Right, okay.
I'm just helping Jamie, the director of the
Yeah,
CDL.
that's great. Thank you, John.
With contractors.
Very good. Our next item is a discussion regarding possible removal of trees at the McQueen House, and then also regarding the McQueen House discussion and possible repairs that the Historical Society is interested in doing. And I see that our illustrious president from the Historical Society is here. Do you want to speak to this work?
Thank you. Last year, the project was bid for the ceiling repairs inside the home, and that contractor has since gone out of business. So we went through the process of getting more bids for repairs to the ceilings. The living room and the parlor ceilings are both in really tough shape. There's a lot of cracking, and with the leak in the roof, the ceiling fell in the parlor, and so we have acquired a bid from Ron Jacobs Drywall and Plaster. They are willing to do the ceilings. The living room and the parlor came to $3,200, and the kitchen ceiling was $1,600, a total of $4,800. I have submitted copies of that to the mayor along with Mr. Jacobs Insurance, and we feel pretty confident with over 40 years of experience that he can go ahead and get that done for us. The society requests that the city allow us to do that. We have the funding to pay for it. The second item I have is for removal of 3 trees from the property. There are 2 large ponderosa pines on the east side of the building on the Madison side street, along with a maple. They're all diseased. Last year during the summer, I found large carpenter ants feasting on the pine trees. We're concerned for the home safety. There's a lot of time and energy and money been spent on the home, and we would like to get those trees down and out of there. I have a bid here. I had several people come and look at it. Only one company submitted a bid, and that is Paul Dunsmore Tree Service. And he wants to remove the 2 large pine trees and the dead maple. There's also 2 maples on the south side, which would be on the First Street side, that need to be trimmed. And he's willing to do that, remove all the materials for $3,000, and we asked the city to pay that bill. And that's what I have for you. Any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer.
I just want to clarify, because our potential motion doesn't address the trees that are all listed here.
You could just put removal of trees. We don't have to specify how
Okay.
many.
Okay, so we can just.
I caught that too after
Yeah,
he spoke.
Okay, okay. So removal of trees, okay. Any questions?
How much of this needs to happen, and I guess the question I have is, do we have a long-term plan in terms of when we'll be able to schedule activity for people to make use of the McQueen home? We've spent a fair amount of money in terms of exterior repair and painting and foundation, et cetera, and now we're being asked to fund additional activity. When you go by there, I'm not sure how much usage the residents, it's really not a museum showplace, I don't believe at this point in time. Now, is there a plan that when X happens, we have a calendar of activities that we'll be able to host events there?
Well, the society has a long history of hosting events at the home. We have a whole series of things we'd like to see done there, along with the standard items that we've done over the years. There's been some art shows that have gone on there. Our Christmas party goes on there. We support Perry Fest every year. But with COVID, we've kept the home closed. It is not open to the public at this time, which has given us the opportunity to move forward with these badly needed repairs. Our goal is to get these ceilings done, and we have contractors coming in now to get bids for painting and wallpaper. We've got most of the rugs ready to go off for cleaning. So at some point in the near future, we'd like to see the interior done so that we can get the State Historical Preservation Society to come down and help us reposition all our furnishings and our items so that the home could be opened back up to the public. One of our concerns was, and has been my concern, is the state and federal government's reluctance to pass legislation that leaves us without liability for COVID-19. That legislation hasn't passed at the state or the federal level yet. So we're a bit reluctant to open the home itself to the public, but that will not prevent us from having events on the lawn, and we intend to go forward with that. But with the upcoming work that will be done on the foundation, the city had already approved the foundation repairs.
Right.
We have the southwest corner of the home's already been tied back in, and I encourage everyone to go by and take a look, take a little peek under the cover there. They did a wonderful job, and I think now that the weather's breaking, they will begin to get back on that and do that work. I would not want a lot of people coming and going in the condition it's in. We're going to be moving furnishings on Monday. We hope to be in a position where everything is moved and covered by the end of the week. Mr. Jacobs wants to either begin the last week of this month or the first week in April. There's quite an extensive amount of work to be done on those ceilings. We're going to get everything covered up, ready for them. We seek your approval to go forward with that work. The trees are a danger. They need to be removed. I would be mortified if we did all this work and then a tree fell on the house. John's dealt with the trees for years. I'm sure that the Department of Public Works won't be too sad to see those things go from there. But we had a tremendous ant problem there last year. I mean, the trees were covered with them. And last spring, the wind blew through our neighborhood down on Willow Street. And I have the pictures I could show anyone who wanted to see them. There was a beautiful maple tree across the road from our house. And I don't think there's anything in here as big around as that tree. And when the wind caught it and snapped it, the entire inside of it was hollow. And it did over $60,000 worth of damage in about 2.5 seconds. So we'd like to see you remove those trees, and we'd like to get going with this plaster work. I want to work from the top down, and the ceilings are our next endeavor.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question, and I guess it might be more directed towards John. I know the agreement in 1974 with the Historical Society said that they would restore the home to its original condition, to sheet rock or drywall qualified. Do you have any idea? Because my thought would be that it should be plaster, if you're restoring to original condition.
Do you want to wait for him, or do you want me to?
Either one.
I don't.
We
I don't have any.
We've met with multiple contractors, and at this point in time, the consensus from everyone is because of the age of these older homes, to encapsulate lead-based paints and other things that are in the homes is much more cost-effective than to go into a home and completely remove the plaster. You know, we're operating on a really tight budget to begin with. And to go into that home and take those ceilings down, not only would we have a tremendous cost in doing that work, but the disposal and everything that would go with that would just be cost prohibitive for anybody to undertake. So Mr. Jacobs' plan was to sheet over what is already there, tighten the ceilings all up and sheet over them, and then skim coat them with plaster and paint them. And he said that he was confident that there would be absolutely no problem with that at all. And, you know, we had 3 people come and look. Mr. Jacobs is the only one who submitted a written bid, but the other folks were very quick to tell us it would cost more than $10,000 to do what he's willing to do for 5.
I mean, again, I don't know enough about historical homes to know if that qualifies, but I would be curious to see if that did qualify under most historical home standards. Because that's part of the value. If you're going to preserve the history, you got to preserve it like it was meant, in my opinion.
Well, his comment was that this is being done in historical buildings and offices and county and state buildings all over. They just don't tear them down if they don't have to. Our ceilings, for the most part, are cracked quite severely. He said, I can skim them just the way they are. He said, I can't guarantee you that that won't be a problem down the road. But he said, if I tighten them right up, shoot anchors into them and tighten them back up to the rafters like they should be, and I board them up and skim them, he said they'll last indefinitely as long as they don't get wet again. So now that our roofs are not leaking, I suggest we go forward with this. And the society is willing to pay it. We just need your approval.
So I have some questions for you, Billy.
Okay.
He can't just patch the holes that are in the plaster, he's saying you have to rip it all out?
No, what they're planning on doing is taking out a section there where the roof leaked.
Okay.
And then refilling that and covering the whole ceiling just makes good sense because, as he said, you know, as old as this is, we can chase cracks for 40 years and we'll never catch them all. But if I cover it, he said I can give it a plastered look. You'll never have that cracking issue again. And he says he does it everywhere. He's been doing this for over 40 years. Very confident in his work.
Okay, because there is products out there to fix plaster that have loosened from their keys. And you know I'm kind of a purist when it comes to that stuff. So I'm a little apprehensive because I'd like to keep it as historic as possible to the original product. And you answered my other question, one of the other questions I had. The Historical Society is paying this $5,000 or whatever it is.
Yes, we are.
But I don't know, I'm not an expert. I know what I do in my own house. There's a product called Plaster Magic. It's a conditioner and a glue and it reattaches the plaster to the keys. And then you fill in the voids with plaster and then skim coat it. Are you gonna have cracks? Yes, plaster cracks. Drywall cracks too.
Sure.
Especially you're not but a couple blocks from the railroad tracks. I've had the trains wake me up shaking my bed. So
Yeah.
I'm a little closer than the McQueen house, but not much by much. So I would please exhaust that avenue before we give in to modern product.
Yeah, I mean, I've checked two things just sitting here right now, both of them said repair plaster, don't put drywall, and that's a mistake in historical homes.
Okay,
But again, that's not extensive.
right.
It's just,
That's, you know, I don't want the repairs not to be delayed, or to be delayed any more than they have to be, but I really think that we need to address as much as exhaust
Well,
the usage of plaster, real plaster, so we get it back to the historic condition of, or the original condition as much as possible.
as I said, I did 3 bids, and this was the only one who was interested in doing the project that filed a bid with us. And the others were very quick to tell us, this is $10,000, $15,000 worth of work. The society doesn't have that money,
Right,
but
and neither
we're
does the
willing to
city.
do this work.
The city doesn't either.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's a good and bad thing. Everyone is so busy, it's a small job, you're gonna get that. I'm not gonna come out there. I have that with landscape issues and stuff.
Sure.
Um,
I can speak with Mr. Jacobs about just skimming it. We did discuss it once before. He recommended going this route simply because you get a better finish, you get a longer lasting finish. It's impossible to tell the difference.
Ask him.
He recommended that we
Ask
go
him
this
about
route.
if he's heard of Plaster Magic, you can Google it.
Okay.
It worked, I've used it in my own house. You know my house, that's 100 years old, just a little newer than that one, but it works. So just in all the reviews and everything I've researched on it, that's what people recommend for renovations. The Craftsman blog guy, that's what he recommends. So, that being said, the trees, I contacted an arborist, and I want to have an arborist, 1 or 2, look at those. I looked at them yesterday on my way home. I don't think any of them are in immediate danger of falling over. They don't look like it. I am not an arborist. I know enough about the trees, to say yes. I think they're Austrian pine, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to get an expert, and I will get that done in the next couple of weeks. And if they recommend removing them, I'll bring it in front of council, we'll remove them.
Okay, great, because,
If they say that we can treat them, then we're gonna try to save the tree. Not the maple can stand there for 25 years as hollow as it is. It could.
well, one of the concerns that we had is that the pine tree that is on the north side of the sidewalk is definitely deteriorating.
That one's worse than the other one.
Yeah, and then the maple tree between the sidewalk and the street is completely hollow. And, our intent is to have events on the property, and we just feel more comfortable with dead or diseased trees being removed for multiple reasons. I mean, there's been a ton of money put into the home, and there's going to be more money put into it, and I urge council to go ahead and take them down because we don't want anyone injured. We certainly don't want the home damaged, and we don't want them to fall over and hit the Methodist church or something else. So this
None
is
of us want those things either.
yeah. That's why we brought it to you.
Neither one of us. I'm more qualified than you, and I'm not that qualified.
No.
I'm not an arborist.
No, I am not either. And
So that's why I would
called
get the person
several.
and the person I contacted today is different than when I had look at the city downtown. He's a retired MSU professor.
Well, I'd like to talk to him too, because I have one in my house I'd like to have.
So, I can give you his name.
Great.
I emailed him today. It may take him a day or 2 to get back to me, I don't know. But I have been at many of his seminars. He's very, very knowledgeable.
Good.
So, and this is what he does now that he retired from MSU.
Good.
Okay? Going back to one point Larry made, not necessarily like the events, how many events or when you're gonna have events.
Sure.
Just a plan, a guideline, like A, B, C, D, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, are we gonna fundraise, are we gonna do this? So, I'd really love to see it. And a little comforting that you're gonna pay for the repair on the plaster.
Sure.
But I would, you know, the city has put out some money, like Larry said, and I can't support, unless it's a danger or something, more until I have some sort of idea what we're doing,
Okay.
okay?
Our standard events for the year included the Perry Fest, the Christmas pageant. We had Halloween there year before last for the very first time, we'll continue to have that. We've talked about having a farmer's market there on the property, and we have a list of events that were part of a proposal we had put forward several years ago. And all of those things, we shelved every bit of that in favor of working on the home during this COVID situation. And we see this as our opportunity to get these things done, and that's why we brought this to you, is we think that they're both extremely important, and this is where we need to be. You know, we're looking at wallpaper and paint and other things. We can't do any of that until we have the ceilings in.
I think, I'm not focused on the events. That will come.
Sure.
Because I saw your list that you had the last meeting I was at, which was a while ago. But I know you guys have kind of a plan for events. That's not my question. I want to see, I'd like to know more about what your plan is to self-fund as much as possible, because the city, and right now in COVID, our sharing with the state is going to drop. It already has, so you know we're not going to have the funds available to give to the society, and we need to get some involvement in that and find. And you are. I'm not saying you're not,
Right.
but I'd like to see more that you're kind of a plan of what you're doing. So that's all. Especially before we get any more money for the structure of that.
Okay.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
I do think we need to remember that we're a small town. We're not Howell or some of those cities that have historical houses who abide by specific criteria and have to go in front of a committee to get any changes made. This building that we're talking about is a museum. The fact that it's old makes it historical. But if we can make it a usable museum where people can go in and see the displays and immerse themselves in what life was like back when this house was built, I don't think we need to be as fussy about whether it's all plaster or if it's drywall. Whatever we can afford to do, I think, is how we need to approach it. No, I'm absolutely not a purist.
So that's why
That's right.
if worst case scenario, if you can't do that, then fine. But I don't know, I can't speak to the fact if they've exhausted all of those options. It's a terrible thing that we have because people are so busy. All contractors are so busy they don't want to come to your house. They don't. I deal with it myself. You know, that's why I do 90% of the work myself.
I do, but you've got to give the Historical Society the credit you're not giving them. They have talked to many people about the things that need to be done. They've gotten bids, they've had people look at it, and you're saying, I know more,
No, I'm not.
I know better, and I'll take care
I
of it.
didn't say that. I'm not saying that at all.
It sounded like it to me.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just telling you what I feel. I feel that this is the right way to do it. I'm not saying I'm right. But also there has to be some transparency on the Historical Society. Yes, he brought us bids, and they are paying for them, and I appreciate that, and he's asking permission to do that. But there isn't, it's a one-sided partnership here. You know, they come, they want money, and then we give them money, we fix this, we fix that. I have, you know.
I take offense
That's all.
at the
That's all.
way you say that. They don't come and say, I want money. Our city, years ago, agreed to take ownership of that. It was given to the city, and the city ignored it.
Long before I was on
for years.
council,
I know,
long before you were.
Long before I was
Anything.
here. But
So
we-
I'm not trying to argue the fact of the past. I'm trying to figure out what the city can afford today and going forward. Now, everyone, the Parks Department, our part, we have to do fundraising to do things in the park. Now, I could have the attitude of, well, the city can't afford it, so we're not gonna do anything. I don't, I understand, I'm a realist, we have to do fundraising. All I'm asking Billy to do as a society is to have to just inform us, what is their plan for fundraising? I know he's got money to fix this, what he already said he does. But I'm not asking to tell me who's giving you the money, I don't really care. I don't care if you go rob the bank and use it, that's not my point. My point is that I don't see an end result of how we're going to self-fund this. I understand the emotional attachment to the house. Okay, I really do. And I love old houses, don't get me wrong. But the city has to go forward from this date. We can't go backwards.
That's right.
So what are we doing forward? We fixed the roof, we painted it,
Yep.
we fixed the foundation. It's mostly fixed, it's not 100%. I did look at it the other day.
No, they're just getting started,
Right.
they're waiting for the better weather. I would like to shed light on something that was just said here. I don't believe for one bit that this, up until this point, has been one-sided. And I want to remind council of the situation that we're in. As of tonight, today, not including the work we're asking the city to allow us to do, in the last 14 months, the Perry Historical Society has secured funding and spent $20,788 on the home.
Hey, Billy,
And
is
with
that your
this-
contractual agreement though?
Pardon me?
Isn't that your contractual agreement?
I don't have a contract with you.
You do, the whole solar site does, 1974. This is what you agreed to ratify.
That's
Which
correct, and we
states-
have.
Which states that the Historical Society, is entirely responsible for the replacement of the house. Article 2, the Perry Historical Society will be responsible for all costs involved in the restoration only of the McQueen house, both inside and out, to restore to original condition.
And if there was restoration to be done, we would have done those restorations. What we're in the midst of here is repair. The ceiling was damaged because the roof leaked, the gutters leaked, and that in turn destroyed the plaster and included the wallpaper, paint. Many of the items in the home have suffered from the humidity and the damage. But with this approval tonight, we will have spent $25,588 on the home, and we are not done yet. We are going to secure more funding, and we're going to do more work. We have folks who have committed to assisting this process and getting this home back to the position it was in and get it open to the public, and that's exactly what we intend to do. And we appreciate your support on this, and I highly recommend that we go forward, get Mr. Jacobs in there and get these ceilings fixed so we can move forward. The longer we delay, the longer it'll be before I can tell Larry exactly what we're going to be doing as far as events over there.
I didn't mean to infer that you haven't done anything. All I'm asking is what are your plans to go forward? Yes, you've raised money somehow, I don't know how.
And we intend to raise more.
So you have been able to raise money and you're getting money. So, but what is the plan to raise more money, to Adam's point of the 74 agreement? Now, we can sit here all day and argue who's responsible for that, who's responsible for that, doesn't mean that, doesn't mean this. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not trying to get to that point. I know that you brought the Historical Society after this approval of the plaster, that spent $25,000.
We're about dead even, yeah. The city
The
spent
city
about
spent
25 and we have
20-something, right,
Yeah,
roughly?
City spent about 25 and we.
Okay, so it's been 50-50 equal. So I'm just asking, I wasn't on council then, I'm on council now, so now I have to, I don't have to just answer to you, I've got whoever lives in the city and whoever, the 750 people or whoever voted for me.
Sure.
So we have to be prudent with the money that we have and how we spend it. It may or may not be the right thing to do, to give you money or not give you money. I'm not going to address that right now.
We're not asking you to give us money.
I know you're not. So all we can do is the best we can do with the information we have in front of us.
Okay.
So yes, you've spent roughly 50% of what the city has spent in the last year and a half or so.
Correct.
So I think Larry was saying, and he may not have, I may be speaking for him, I don't know. it's not necessarily the events, because I know the events will come, but how are we going to fund to that point? And then, once you get to that point, then we can, we'll have a schedule, and we'll coordinate them all, and we can all be partners with that. So if we have Perry Fest, or we have some other fest,
We will support all those events.
those things will be open, we can have things in conjunction with the house. I'm not saying that there's adversarial relationship, I don't want that at all. I just want to have some more information, as much as you're able to give me. Now, I know you're a nonprofit organization,
That's correct.
so, and I don't care if you give me who, hey, John Blow gave me this, and
No,
Susan gave me that, I don't care about that.
Our
But you could-
fundraising is confidential, and we would be unable to share that with you. What we can tell you is that as time progresses, we're going to continue to seek out funding for the needed upgrades to the home, or the restoration to the interior of the home. And we're going to make sure that that work is done, and it's done in a cost-effective manner, and that the funds are spent locally whenever possible, and that we create community involvement in those projects that go forward there. That I can tell you. One of the things that I'd like to remind council is that the home it had been neglected for a long time, and we're on the right path. And I appreciate your support. I appreciate your faith in us to get these things done. And as we go along, I'm more than willing to come down and give you an annual report, or even a couple reports a year if you feel more comfortable with that. I do believe that Mr. Jacobs' drywall project is probably our best bet at this point in time, based on the information that I've researched. We don't know how extensive lead contamination is in any old home. What the modern system gives us is the encapsulation of those ceilings, so that we don't have to worry what they're shedding in the future, or what was stirred up in the process of repairing them. So we recommend that we go this route.
Again, I don't necessarily disagree, I just want to make sure that is the best way to do it, and as historically correct as possible.
Yeah, we intend to even leave the plaster cornices for the lights, because they are extremely rare and they're very difficult to repair. And from getting up and looking at them, they're in remarkable shape. And so we're going to work around those. Ron is very confident in his ability to get it done. If you feel more comfortable, I can call Ron and ask him to give us some references so that we can call some folks. But with over 47 years of experience, I think he's on the right track, and I'm very confident in his ability to get it done.
I don't have any worries about him being able to do sheetrock. I mean, that's not a real difficult thing, especially if he's been doing it for you. My concern is whether it's being restored accurately.
Well, part of our situation now, Adam, is we've already modernized the electrical system. We've modernized the plumbing system. We've repaired and replaced the gutters and downspouts with new ones. We have painted it again. At some point in the next 10 or 15 years, 10 years at the most, probably it's going to have shingles on it. All of these changes are changes that have come to the home. We've done our best to keep it as original as possible, because when we contracted with Keach Electric, we took the time to find the appropriate switches, paid a premium to get those switches. All the wiring that we put into the home was all put in so that only in a couple of places there would be any exposure. We also upgraded the home to a modern smoke detector and security exit lights, both from the second floor and in the downstairs, because our Christmas event and our Halloween event run late into the night, and we were afraid that we would not have the ability to evacuate the building. So the home's had a lot of upgrades. Like Sue said, it's a museum, and we want to keep it as close as we can. We save every article that we can, but the cost of doing those ceilings, he didn't even bid it that way, because he just said just the disposal cost of tearing down the old plaster, and it's a year project to do that.
Well, that's why I don't think he has to tear it all down, but again, I'm not an expert at all, and don't get me wrong, know what I don't know. That's all. If you would please ask, if that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I did.
That's all.
I asked him, I said,
That's all I'm trying to say.
yeah, I asked him, I said, is there any way around sheeting it? And he said, yeah, you can take all the plaster down, replace whatever lap needs to be put up there, and then replaster the ceilings. It's, I don't know where we would find the funding to do something like that.
I have to say, I'm really discouraged. I thought we were past the animosity.
Well, I hope you
I-
don't feel like from up here, we're just trying to
No.
present you with the fact.
No.
Okay.
I really had hoped that we were gonna move forward and have a good working relationship.
I'm sorry if I gave you the opinion, I don't have a good relationship. I'm just trying to make sure that the money that's spent is well spent. And it's historic, if it's a historic home and we're gonna try to keep it that way, a museum or not, then that's the decision we made. And I'm gonna make sure it's what is supposed to be done.
That's
Again,
fine.
my personal, I'm a purist when it comes to fixing plaster. I think the plaster is the best product that was ever produced. You're gonna have cracks. I don't know, I didn't talk to the man. I don't know why they're saying they have to rip it all out. I don't know why they can't fix that hole that's there.
No,
I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with making suggestions and that sort of thing. It's accusations that cause a problem when they're accused of constantly just coming and wanting money. Things like that, that's not what they're doing.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Does anybody else have questions for Billy regarding these two items?
A more generic question, just to follow up the events. Is there a vision someday when we get past COVID, get past the repair, that the museum will have some sort of limited but regular hours for
Yes.
visitors?
Yes, our hours were 2 Sundays a month. And at one point in time, when Dan was still with us, they were open far into the holiday season. And we would like to see that happen again. I think that realistically, we should be open, 2, 3, maybe, every weekend if we get the feedback from the community. Once we get back open, if a lot of people show an interest in it, that'd be wonderful. I also would like to be available to the public school system so that when the school gets back to normal and our children are back in public school, that we can, they can coordinate with me and I'll open the building at any time and run as many kids through there as we can, because that made a big impression on me when I was a child, and I certainly would like to see as many of our kids go through it as they possibly can. This is a big project. As I said, we're moving a lot of stuff this next week or so to get ready for them, and I hope we don't delay. I hope we can go forward with this and get this done. I got a lot of wallpaper to take down and a lot of trim and stuff that's going to need repair, and we're looking forward to it. So we appreciate
I've personally been remiss in not taking advantage of it when it was previously open and available. I just want to be certain that as, whether it's Historical Society's money or city money, that when we come out the other end of renovation, that we're maximizing the asset that everybody's put time and money into.
Well, I have invited the ladies at the library to have story time over at the McQueen House once we're finished and back open. So that may take up at least one day a week, which would be wonderful. I would love to be able to open up and have the library personnel bring groups of children over for stories and maybe get a little piano work in while you're over there, So we're looking forward to that. And we have a vibrant art community here in Shiawassee County, and I think it would be extremely important and very valuable to not only to the home but to the city if we could organize some art shows and maybe some art sales where folks could bring their artwork and display it.
Well, and I think not last period house, but the one before, I think you did have some of that on display.
We did.
And I have taken advantage of the opportunity to go to some of these things And it was, Billy, tell your story about the snow cones.
I sold snow cones at the Blast Perry Fest, and I sold snow cones for $20. I sold snow cones for a lot more money than that. People want to help. People want this thing to go through. I had a fellow call me on the phone, and he said, "What are you working on over there?" And I said, "Oh, we got all kinds of projects that we're trying to accomplish, but we're actually in a tough spot because we're in a top-down mode. We have to, work from the ceiling down." And I said, there's a lot to be done in there. And he said, "Well, what are you working on now?" And I told him. He said, "Well, that's very interesting." He says, "Are you around?" And I said, "I'd like to see it." And I said, "Yes." I took him over there and showed it to him. And he said, "Well, I'll help you with that." And he said, "When you get to your next project, let me know and I'll help you with that too." There's a lot of folks that home means a lot to them, and I'm very grateful to be part of it. And I think that the amount of programs and stuff that we could do down there for the community is probably as big as your imagination.
They had the best Halloween display I've ever seen.
John, could I just ask, we talked a little bit about these trees, and the city was going to have to do some trimming or cutting of these trees, and if we do pay for this as this is bid, then the Department of Public Works won't have to deal with those, is that correct?
Well, the maple out in the right of way, I mean, I went up there yesterday also, it's starting to bud out, and the branches that are coming out, is there not holes in it? Yeah, there's probably raccoons living in it, I don't know. But the ones up by the house, honestly, I don't feel confident or comfortable with myself and my guys taking it down. If the stuff gets away from us and tears the house up, then talk about a black eye for us.
Well, if I'm hearing, thank you, John. If I'm hearing everybody correctly, Bob would like to have an arborist look at these trees before we make any decision regarding
Yes.
paying to have those down. Is everybody in favor of that? Bob and Adam, Larry,
okay
yes?
with that.
Okay. So you're going to arrange for that to be
I
done?
already sent them an email today.
Okay.
I will follow up with them if I don't get an email or a call.
So let's move the tree project to the next meeting, assuming that you'll have something from him by then?
I hope to.
Okay.
I spoke with Mr. Dunsmore Monday, and I let him know that you guys would be talking about it, and he said, "That's fine, I put you on the 2021 schedule." He said, "You let me know, it might take me a week or two to get rolling on it, but it shouldn't take long to do." And I spoke with another gentleman about stump removal, and he said, "Get me a misdig," and he said, "When those markers are in where I know where we're going, I'll come and take the stumps out for you."
In regard to the other project, the plaster project, what is council's pleasure? Do you want to give them approval to go ahead with this as it's bid, or do we need more information? What does council want to do with that?
Understanding Bob's comments notwithstanding, we probably should go at, I would recommend that we consider going ahead and making the motion to allow them to move forward with the inside, given that they're really encapsulating any lead contamination, et cetera, with what they're doing. Yes, it's probably not as historical as, with all due respect, Bob, being a purist, but, given what hasn't probably been, purely historical in terms of wiring and plumbing and things that have been done in the past to make the building functional and maybe not totally historically 100% accurate, it's probably a reasonable trade-off to go ahead and let them proceed with the drywall work, keeping in mind that they're trying to save as much history as possible. So to that end, I'd move that the city approve the following proposal for repairs to the greenhouse with the stipulation that all financial responsibility for said repair shall be the responsibility of the Historical Society, The DPW superintendent shall approve any deviation from the contract, and the contractor shall furnish adequate proof of liability insurance, workers' compensation insurance, prior to commencing work on the project, and turn paperwork with numbers in writing.
Second.
Been moved by Larry, seconded by Mindy, to allow the Historical Society to move ahead with the plaster work, drywall work inside the house as described. All those in favor, please vote yes.
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 All those opposed, please vote no. Okay, motion passes. We had also just a brief discussion of council rules and policies procedure. We have our rules of procedure in front of us, and there was in that the part about the comments from the public and public participation. So based on our discussion at the meeting last time, this paragraph needs to be adjusted to allow council and public to speak with each other during that time. Is there any discussion regarding that? Are you all in favor of making that change in the Perry City Council Rules of Procedure? I say yes. Okay. Larry, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
And Bob?
The only thing I said last time is we should put a hard number, timeline. I mean, 3 minutes maybe not enough, but I think 5 would be plenty. But that's the only kind, other than that, I'm fine with it. We just have to, we have to try to keep them reeled in.
I'm not seeing a
So,
proposed change in the
so
paragraph.
on the next meeting, you'll have this as proposed policy change?
Okay. So we're just discussing it tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay. So
Because
Bob
there's
would,
nothing for everybody to confirm in front of them.
Bob would like to see maybe a 5-minute limit on the topic that is brought up. Anything else? Okay. Moving off that topic then and on to any other business that may come before council. This is where we do need to respond to the resignation letters that we heard today.
I move that we accept the resignation of Terry Wood as council member with regret.
Second.
All those in favor of that motion, please vote by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no. Okay, moving on.
I move that we accept the resignation of Craig Elliott as council member with regret.
Second.
Motion before us to accept Craig Elliott's resignation. All those in favor respond by yes.
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 And those opposed, vote no. And we have Craig's resignation on the planning commission.
I move that we accept the resignation of Craig Elliott from planning commission with regret.
Second.
And Adam has moved, Larry has seconded to accept Craig's resignation from planning commission with regret. All those in favor vote by saying yes.
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 And those opposed with no. And now we have something I'm gonna let Devin explain.
So in November 5th, 2020, council had put in front of them a resolution to approve and give the city clerk authorization to sign reports notices to go forward from Balak to ICMAR. And there's a couple other plans that were going on. This is probably my bad, nobody caught it, but the resolution that I gave you a copy of is about a different plan that we have not started, and it should state, therefore is resolved, the City of Perry hereby adopts the ICMA 457 Deferred Comp Plan. And as you can see, it's in the third paragraph. I really didn't want you guys to have to go in front of a whole nother council and another resolution, so I did verify with the city attorney if I was able to amend the current resolution that is in front of you to make it correct, that third paragraph, and the attorney said yes, under any other business, and I told him what was going on. So if you are comfortable with the original resolution, what you're seeing, and what I'm asking you to help me make a correction.
I move that we authorize city clerk to amend the resolution regarding 457 deferred compensation plan number 11-0506 by replacing the third paragraph with therefore it is resolved that the city of Perry hereby adopts the ICMA 457 deferred compensation plan.
Second.
Been moved by Bob and seconded by Mindy that we authorize the city clerk to amend the resolution as read. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes. City council discussions and observations.
I'd like to mention that we were talking about a little committee that would get together with the Historical Society here and there and just give us updates and just to be involved. That might help keep communication going. That we were planning to do that.
I think a committee is a good idea, and that it should be people from the Historical Society and people from council, perhaps even someone from the general public. I don't know how you'd want to approach that, but I can see benefit coming from a regular meeting, be it every month or every quarter. I don't know, we'd have to see as we progress, but that could keep things transparent and open and discussed. And who on the city council would like to serve on that committee? Mindy, would you like to serve on that committee? Who else would like to serve on that committee?
I will, part of the Parks and Property.
Okay.
You can head it up.
Mindy, chairman.
Yes, Mindy can be the chair.
But you know I don't do well with that.
I would like to serve on that committee as well. And then Billy,
Absolutely.
and your vice president,
Shansky.
she said she would. So let's start with that, and we'll leave that up to the new chairman to decide when our first meeting will be, and she'll let us know. Very good, thank you, Mindy. Any other discussion? Anybody? I just will remind you all that I will not be here for the next meeting, and ask you to keep my son in your prayers. He's having triple bypass open heart surgery on St. Patrick's Day. And so I will be in Ann Arbor for that event, and I will not be here.
And
Adam
how big are
will.
the children that you're chasing?
Yeah, but there's 17 and 15.
Oh.
So
you'll be happy.
I'll be
to just-
hog tying them, yeah. Mostly there to run them about, because they have to be here, there, and
Yeah.
everywhere. No, if we don't have any other items to come before council for discussion,
I think one other thing, Sue, I think you passed a no long asking the question, should we still have the public meeting
yes.
prior to the meeting next time? And my recommendation would be yes, that we go ahead, simply if it's in its infancy right now.
Yes.
And I'd hate to see us have one and then, cancel it.
Okay.
And hope you'd understand if we want to have in your absence. So
No,
we can try to have
absolutely.
some long,
I would
some
like to have
continuity.
him. Adam said he could be here.
Yeah.
So the next meeting, the 18th, we'll have the special open forum at 6:30.
That would be my thought, at least.
Yeah. And then the regular council meeting at 7, which Adam will chair.
So the mayor will formally call a special meeting again like we did before.
Yeah.
Even though you're not gonna be there, you can still call it.
Yeah, I'll call it and then Adam will do it.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you. Yep, we'll get that taken care of.
Anything else?
Did we miss the approval of the bills on the agenda?
I thought we did them.
I believe I have motions on it.
Yeah,
Did you? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
was blanked out somewhere, that wasn't it.
Grass and Lambert,
Okay, sorry, thank you.
No, that's fine, anytime, bring that stuff up. I've tried going to a highlighter to get myself not to miss stuff, and I still miss stuff, so feel free to speak up. That's fine. Okay, the meeting is now adjourned at 9:37. Thank you all.
all right.
We have 2 seats to fill on the city council. These would be replacements for the 2 resignations that we received today. And if you, as a registered voter here in the city of Perry, resident of the city, are interested in filling that seat on a temporary basis, it would be a seat that you would fill until the next election of council members, which would be in 2022. And then you could choose whether you wanted to run again or step down. The requirements for serving as a city council are that you are an elector of the city, registered to vote in the city, that you would attend all council meetings, which are the first and third Thursdays of each month, that you would serve on 4 standing committees, which may be working on a project or standing idle. You would need to be knowledgeable of the city ordinance, finance and council policies and procedures, which are available for you to read. Perry City Council rules or procedures state that the council members shall conduct themselves in a manner consistent with the dignity and decorum of the office. They shall act in a manner which accords respect to the public, staff members, the mayor, and fellow council members. If you'd like to be considered for appointment to either city council seat, please contact me at City Hall, or you can email me at shammond@perry.mi.us. We do need to fill these seats as soon as possible. It's required to be filled within 60 days, but I'd like to fill them within 30. Thank you.